Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I formally declare open this Submissions Committee meeting of the Colac Otway Shire on the 14th of April 2026. I'll start with the opening prayer. Almighty God, we seek your blessing and guidance in our deliberations on behalf of the people of the Colac Otway Shire. Enable this Council's decisions to be those that contribute to the true welfare and betterment of our community. Amen. I'd like to start this afternoon by acknowledging the traditional custodians and lawmakers of this land, their elders past and present. Please be advised that this meeting is recorded and live streamed with the exception of confidential matters. This includes the public participation sections of meetings. The live stream recording of this afternoon's meeting will be available on the website as soon as practicable. By participating in open meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of the information they share at the meeting, including any personal and or sensitive information. I note that all councillors are present. I'll move on to 3.3, confirmation of minutes. I propose that we move to confirm the minutes of the Submissions Committee meeting held on the 10th of March 2026. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hudgell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Potter. We have a motion before us, councillors. We'll now put it to a vote. All those in favour, Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dew, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 7-0. Move on to 3.4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Hudgell.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to declare a conflict of interest for item 5.3, the proposed Colac lease, as the owner of Red Door, being one of the major user groups of the facility.
Thank you. Are there any other conflicts? Mr. Surin.
Through you, Mayor, also like to declare a general conflict of interest for item 5.3, proposed Colac lease, as I have an involvement in or connected to an organisation that did put a submission into the process.
Thank you. Any other conflicts? I have a conflict of interest on item 5.2, 4 to 6 Wood Street, planning permit 118-2025-1 of a family member that is an objector to the planning application, and I own property in the vicinity of Wood Street, being in Polworth Street. Thank you. Any other conflicts? No. We'll move on to the verbal submissions from submitters. Council appreciates the community's submissions on today's agenda item and values the effort put into both written and in-person contribution. Councillors review all submissions thoroughly and find them very useful. Today, people can restate or highlight parts of their submissions. I'll now read the names of registered people. So if you could just raise your hand when I call your name, and this is for the first item, 5.1, 19 Park Avenue and 92 Montrose Avenue, Apollo Bay Planning Permit 101-2023-1. Cameron Gray. Thank you. Aidan Devlin. Online. Thank you. Barbara Burkett. Thank you. Gary Ritchies. Thank you. For item 5.2, planning permit 118-2025-1, 4 to 6 Wood Street, Colac, Hannah O'Connor. Thank you. Glenda Prigg. Thank you. Peter Hutchinson. Thank you. Hutchison. For item 5.3, the proposed Colac lease, James Judd. Thank you. Peter Gregg. Georgina Wheeler, thank you. And Amy Bordenette. Paul, I'm not representing Amy. Thanks. Please note that this committee will hear submissions today, but no decisions will be made at the meeting. A decision on this matter will be made at a later meeting. Now we'll move on to the first item on the agenda, 5.1, planning permit 101 2023-1, 19 Park Avenue and 92 Montrose Avenue, Apollo Bay. We have had the 4 people requested to speak to their submission. I'll firstly invite Cameron Gray, the applicant, to address the committee. You've got 5 minutes. I'll give you a heads up with a minute to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard. As some of you might know, this application's taken a long time to get to this point. It's been subject to multiple reviews by council's planning officers and internal teams, as well as both the CCMA and CFA, who played significant roles in the application. We think it's important to note that whilst the site does have some constraints, it's still well within the settlement boundary of Apollo Bay and has for many years been zoned for urban development, both industrial and residential. All council structure planning or high-level planning over the last 20 years or so in Apollo Bay has reinforced this role and the proposed use of the land as residential and industrial. So it does sit in urban zones, but it obviously has some constraints as well. Amongst those are the fact that it's a very long, narrow-shaped parcel or parcels, which compromise the flexibility of design and what you can actually do with the site. There's also the fact that it incorporates 2 separate zones. It has industrial land to the south, residential land to the north, which complicates matters. Obviously, under normal circumstances, combining traffic between industrial and residential uses is not desirable. And the other key constraint is the flooding and stormwater, mainly on the western portion of the site. So we think we've responded to those constraints and others. There's been lots of revisiting of this design and how it deals with those issues. And it's hard to actually see a different outcome which satisfies policy and other requirements. I'll quickly speak to the main issues which were raised in objections some time ago, noting it's not possible to cover them all, but it seems the key one is around access and traffic. So the key issues there are that there is a need to separate industrial and residential traffic, and we've done that, or the proposal's done that, by sending the industrial traffic south to Montrose, whilst the residential traffic uses the existing residential road network of Park Avenue and the residential roads further east. In terms of Park Avenue, there's no opportunity for us, even if it was desirable, to avoid residential traffic and divert it towards Montrose. And the reason for that is essentially that the CCMA is comfortable with industrial traffic from a private development, that is a common property driveway, if you like, to exit out onto Montrose Avenue, but they won't accept a broader, heavier level of public road and residential traffic to exit that way. And that's to do with the flooding and stormwater I mentioned earlier. So we don't really have a choice. There will be increased volumes on Park Avenue. That's undeniable, and that's an issue for essentially every subdivision in development, which creates dwellings, increases traffic volumes. We understand existing residents in Park Avenue don't necessarily want to see that traffic. However, it is our legal road abuttal to that northern title. That's the only road abuttal to the northern title. The nature of Park Avenue is a local access road as per the council report, which, in terms of carrying capacity and profile, it's similar to many other local access roads within Apollo Bay and can potentially carry a lot more traffic than is being proposed by this development.
Just got 1 minute. Thanks.
1 minute, yep, sure. So we think the use of Park Avenue and the improvements proposed to the road profile there are acceptable. The other key issue is probably open space. So there's an existing reserve west of our site which is completely underutilised and of little value, it appears, to council or the residents. It's limited for a range of reasons, but essentially it's got about a 5 metre access to Park Avenue, and otherwise it's secluded. So it's a poor decision back in the day, 20 years or so ago, I suppose, to create it in that fashion. But what we're doing is we're trying to open the frontage up to that significantly by about another 40 metres to actually make that open space usable and attractive to residents in the area and broader residents. I think without something happening to the parcel we're talking about now, that open space will remain underused or not used at all.
That's nearly time.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Cameron. I'll now invite via online Aidan Devlin to speak. So just whenever you're ready, unmute yourself and go for it. I'll let you know when you've sort of got a minute left. Thanks.
Good afternoon too, and thanks for the opportunity as well. I'm not opposed to this development per se, but rather the choice of the developers to use Park Avenue as the sole means of access to the development for the residential side. Developers have assumed a superior right to the amenities of Park Avenue than that of the residents who already live there. As mentioned in the traffic impact assessment report, it speaks of additional residential traffic generation based on the allotments that are there of at least 10 vehicle movements per day. But this is at least. It's only a minimum that 10 has been allowed for. And the true additional traffic could be far more, far higher than this. And based on their minimum, they still exceed the design limits, as they've mentioned, of 0 to 300 vehicle movements per day for the infrastructure that's already in place on Park Avenue. And their proposal to get around this or to improve this is to include 4 indented parking bays on a street that in doing so would remove the potential for people, as anyone up and down the street would notice, that store their jet skis, their caravans, their cars, their guests' additional cars on the driveway, on the grass lawns in front of or behind the indented parking strip. So they remove a driveway in one case and lawns in the other cases to provide additional parking, which actually removes the potential for parking. So their solution to a problem exacerbates the problem. It doesn't improve the problem. The traffic also doesn't necessarily choose to go down Colwood Street or Montrose Avenue, as mentioned in the traffic report. It will be directed towards the primary school, the hospital, the kindergarten, as people make their way through town, past the most vulnerable people in town. And in conclusion, because I won't use my full 5 minutes, it's mainly just the traffic management or proposed management that I have an objection to. And as mentioned by our previous speaker, the site is compromised. And why do Park Avenue residents have to wear further compromise of their amenities to provide the compromised site and out in order to continue their development, which is in their interest and no one else's interest on that street? So, in conclusion, that's pretty much their proposed solutions don't make any difference. In fact, they make it worse, and that's the crux of my objection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aidan. I'll just ask you to remute if you're going to stay online too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'll now invite Barbara Burkett up. Thank you.
Do I need to just press this, do I? Oh, it's on? Yeah, is that good enough? Okay. We've lived in Park Avenue in Apollo Bay for 15 years. I actually work for the Shire and my husband works at the school and the surf club. We've seen many new homes and new estates developed, including properties that border our own, but we do have serious concerns about aspects of this planning application. It's clear from all the reports by the developer that they assumed northern access via Kaywood Street, Tuckshan Road would be available at some point, and they stated that 2 egress access roads would be preferred. This is for the residential aspect of the application. The developer stated at the consultation meeting way back in May 2024 that there's now no clear idea if a road providing northern access will ever eventuate. He wanted to, in his words, push this through. This means Park Avenue is the only egress and access road for all the traffic during the development phase and for 28 new residential lots post-development. The developer states 2 roads are not necessary from a traffic perspective, but from a safety perspective, this creates an absolutely unacceptable risk to residents of all the new lots in the event of any emergency, such as bushfire or flood or landslip. And it also makes for difficult access for any emergency delivery or service vehicles. Over the most recent spring-summer seasons, Apollo Bay experienced a number of nearby bushfires, including 2 that resulted in a watch and act warning for the township. Widening Park Avenue to 7.3 metres is no solution to the problem. All this would achieve is a tick in a box, meeting the criterion required to cope with the predicted increase in traffic. It shows no understanding of the specific location of Park Avenue or the current use of the road. Cars park on both sides of the street, contradicting the developer's traffic impact assessment report, which falsely states cars only park on one side of the street. Nearly all cars belonging to visiting family and friends use off-street parking at a 90-degree angle to the road on the grass in front of houses. This space is also used for the storage of caravans and boats. Widening the road would mean all this off-street parking on the northern side of Park Avenue would be lost, thereby creating much more congestion from street parking. The suggested increase to the width of the road is actually less than the width of a standard vehicle, so will not provide additional access or egress. The danger increases as Park Avenue has a crest, so there's no visibility at either end for oncoming traffic. Altering Park Avenue only creates a permanent loss of amenity for your existing residents and ratepayers. It adds to stormwater flow on a street that already doesn't cope with any decent rainfall and totally fails to address the problem of one road egress and access to a large development, particularly in the event of any natural disaster. Bushfires are becoming more prevalent and they occur at the time of the year when most visitors are in Apollo Bay. Attempting an evacuation from the new estate would endanger the lives of all residents. We are also very concerned for the impact this development will have on flood risk at Montrose Avenue and beyond. Climate change, along with the definite risk of cataclysmic bushfires, is already leading to increased and more frequent floods. The land at the development site is already subject to flooding, and Montrose Avenue is already inundated after heavy rain. Runoff will obviously increase once the land is covered with roads and paths and houses. Once this water goes under and also over Montrose Avenue, it ends up in the Barham River, which regularly overflows its banks now. When the river mouth is blocked, the land adjacent to the Great Ocean Road, which is within the recreation reserve and campground, is flooded. It's easy to predict, with the increased encroachment of tides into the river as sea levels rise, that floodwater will have nowhere to go except to flood the land and the Great Ocean Road. And this has huge impacts for the safety and prosperity of Apollo Bay as a whole and the future of the Great Ocean Road. Given the increase in volatility and frequency of extreme weather events,
Just 1 minute.
Irresponsible,
Thanks.
thank you, and potentially negligent to approve a large residential development adjacent to forest and grassland with only one narrow egress and access road. It's a failure of due diligence by the developer who cannot currently provide the additional planned road access. We would suggest the planning application be re-examined once the developer has secured a second permanent egress access road from the north. This would allow new residents to access and leave their homes more readily and would also avoid the pointless and dangerous alterations to Park Avenue. It should not be the existing residents and ratepayers of Park Avenue who bear the brunt of solving the developer's problems. We ask Council to carefully consider the wisdom of approving the development in its current state, given the risk factors involved for existing residents and for any future residents of this development. Council needs to put planning for emergency events front of mind ahead of any development approvals. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Barbara. I'd now like to invite Gary Ritchie's up. Thank you.
Hello to all the councillors. My name's Gary Riches. Had a lot to do with the Colac Otway Shire over the last 30 years. Just a little bit about myself. I might not have the criteria that Quinton and Mr Apollo Bay Proprietary Limited have, but I'm an ex-property developer. One of the biggest projects was a 30-lot subdivision. It went from there to 2 3-lot subdivisions as a registered builder, building all sorts of dwellings, A-class residential dwellings. I'm going to wing this because I've been a bit crook, as you can see, so I haven't had time to put it together. I won't talk too much about the streets. It's been spoken about. I think it's terrible. And there's actually laws in here that they're breaching when it comes to taking away people's what they have. Anyway, let's start with the floods. As you know, we've seen what happened in Lorne and that area with the floods this year. To my knowledge, there has been no surveys or no studies done on the flood impact down Anderson's Creek. Anderson's Creek originally was the original reservoir for Apollo Bay. It sits above Anderson's Creek. I don't think anyone's even been up to have a look at it to see whether it still holds water or whether it's or what the situation is. I think to allow a subdivision in an area like that, without some proper mapping and inundation maps put in place, I think would be ludicrous, considering what's just happened in Lorne, or this side of Lorne, let alone the rest of the world. It's happening everywhere. Look at Lismore up in New South Wales, Queensland, wherever it was. These are mud flats. The Great Ocean Green got thrown out. Why? Because they were going to build it in a mud flat. This is the same mud flat. There's a few farmers, you councillors, a few of them in there are farmers. The cows in the winter sink to their knees in mud. You're going to put houses in it. And if you look at their report, they'll say we need to look at alternative ways to build the houses that we put down there. Maybe not build them out of brick, but timber. Why? Well, they build them in a mud flat. I'm at the end of Park Avenue. I look down over that. There's ducks that live or fly in there a day, evening, whatever, and play around in the water. As far as I'm concerned, Quinton's reports are flawed. They're misleading. There's a spring that flows out the side of the hill there that doesn't stop all year round. I'm quite prepared to take any of you over there if you want to, if we can get access and we can have a look at it. That's designated for a residential A house. I live right at the end of Park Avenue, number 18. In the winter, the water flows down the hill from the house next door, down past the front of my house, over my driveway, and comes out under the ground in the old track where the waters ran for probably 100 years, I don't know. If you really think you're going to put 20, 30 houses down there and not expect problems within the next 50 to 100 years, I think you're kidding yourself.
Just got 1 minute. Thanks, Gary.
The bushfire report, for goodness sake, look at the bell rating they had. Up Park Avenue, there was a house there that had a higher bush bell rating than they did down here in the flats, beside these huge gum trees. How on earth does that come about? Okay, the CFA approved it, Crangamite Catchment Authority approved it. I think they both really need to look at it properly, especially the Crangamite Catchment Authority. There's landslip. I don't know whether you've all gone down and had a look. It'd be nice to get access to have a look. There's a spring on the top side, on the Polar Bay side, over the fence that runs all year round virtually as well. When it does rain heavy, it all gets down to that industrial estate there, backs up, can't get under the road and floods. Floods straight over the road, you know, foot deep or whatever. Seriously, what's going to happen when it pours down rain? Because it's coming.
Just nearly tell them, Gary.
I don't think I've got much more to say. The reports are flawed. As I said, I've done a lot of stuff in my life and a lot of subdivisions, and out of all the subdivisions I've done, I did not get one submission against it. This guy's had 30. We had a meeting up the street. There was, or 20, or however many it was. We had a meeting up the end of the street. 36 people turned up. No one wants it. What, it's to suit one man? You know, you think you can come in and buy a block of land for 1.5 million and turn it to 15?
Thanks, Gary.
No, it doesn't wash. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks to all the submitters. That's our final submitter to the first item. There's officer recommendation in the report. Does any councillor wish to move that as the motion? Councillor Potter. Is it to be seconded? Councillor McCrickard. Councillor Potter has the move.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today and coming online, sharing your views, and both sides of the fence we've heard today. So thank you very much for your time, and councils will consider your submissions.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor McCrickard as the seconder. No. Any other councillor wish to say anything? No. We have a motion before us. Councillors will now put it to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dew, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried. 7-0. Thanks, councillors. We'll now move on to item 5.2, planning permit 1182025-1. I have a conflict of interest, so I will leave and it'll be handed over to the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Howard. Of a general conflict in that a family member is an objector to this planning permit, and I have an interest in a property in the vicinity of the permit in Wood Street, being in Polworth Street. So thank you.
Right, so as the Mayor has said, we now move to item 5.2, PP 118-2025-1, 4 to 6 Woods Street, Colac, use and development of land for a childcare. We have 3 people who have requested to speak to their submissions, so I will invite Hannah O'Connor to address the committee in person. Hannah, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, councillors, and thank you for your time today. My name is Hannah O'Connor and I'm a resident of Wood Street, directly adjacent to the proposed 100 Place childcare development. I stand before you in strong objection to this proposal. There are multiple reasons why this development should not proceed, including noise impacts, traffic and safety risks, zoning conflicts, waste management and pest control concerns, and overall loss of residential amenity. However, given the limited time today, I'll just focus on 3 critical issues. Number 1 being noise, and the failure to meet EPA statutory requirements. Number 2, the traffic and the inability of Wood Street to safely accommodate this development. And third, the zoning, and why this is fundamentally the wrong use in the wrong place. Firstly, the noise. This proposal conflicts with EPA statutory law. This is not subjective. This is governed by the EPA Victoria's Noise Protocol. Specific requirements under Clause 30 and 31, which set enforceable noise limits for residential zones. The limits are very clear. Day, 45, evening, 39, night, 34. 45, 39, 34. Now, with the use of the applicant's noise impact assessment, proposed by the Galty Homes, the applicant, the existing background noise levels on Wood Streets are day 43.57, evening 41.57, and night 39.29. I don't know if you remembered my first numbers, but two of those, evening and night, already exceed statutory EPA noise background levels as it stands. Daytime noise just sits at 1.43 decibels below the legal maximum, which is less than the sound of someone breathing. It's basically negligible. To be very clear, there is no available acoustic capacity for further development on our street. In fact, the report also recorded levels as high as 48 decibels during the assessment period, already breaching allowable limits without a childcare. So the conclusion is unavoidable. If the council approves this development, it is approving a development that cannot comply with EPA statutory law. No noise management plan can resolve this because the baseline environment is already at, beyond, or capacity. Secondly, to do with this noise, the proposed noise management strategies are not very credible. They're based on behavioural strategies. This was submitted in their report, and I quote, "Crying children should be taken inside and comforted. Outdoor activities should be limited to quiet or passive activities such as painting, reading, and drawing. These measurements are not realistic to minimise noise for a childcare centre for those playing outside. It puts unreasonable expectations on young children, the 3 and 4-year-olds, to mitigate the noise for the childcare centre as a strategy that they submitted. They raised serious concerns in relation to childcare operational standards, supervision requirements for staff ratios.
Hannah, one more minute.
Because obviously someone's going to be removed from outside to console the child inside, which is also against best practice in early childhood. The second item is the traffic. Basically, we're at capacity. We're nearby a primary school at the end of our street, an IGA supermarket. We have industrial traffic with the AKD and Bulla behind us as well, and existing residents. It's unsafe for children to walk to school with this proposed development, vehicles queuing and stopping with the roadway, and restricted access for emergency services. Finally, the zoning. This is a clear planning conflict. It does not protect residential amenity, it does not prioritise housing and livability, and it prevents the land use conflict. 100 Place Childcare Centre is not a low impact local service, it's a high intensity commercial operation. This is fundamentally inconsistent with the proposed zoning for our street under the Planning and Environmental Act. Basically, this proposal is not appropriate and is unnecessary in this location. There is also another proposed larger childcare about 1 kilometre away in Wallace Street, and that is actually on commercial land, not residential, that has already been proposed. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. Well done. I invite Glenda Prigg up to speak to her submission.
I'm also a resident. I'm Glenda Prigg. I'm a resident of Wood Street. Now, where I live, when we back out our property, we do not have a line of sight towards Murray Street, so it's a problem. So if we have 400, in excess of 400 cars per day, which will be the result of this childcare centre, plus parking in the street, visibility is going to be extremely difficult. 400 cars a day, cars parked on both sides of the street, it only limits one traffic vehicle movement in either direction. You cannot have passing traffic. The proposers also said that 80% of these 400 plus cars are going to exit into Murray Street. I would really like to see what their, how they quantify that with the vehicle numbers in Murray Street between 7 and 9 in the morning, 12 and 2 at lunchtime, 3:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon, where people are going to have to exit into Murray Street either turning left or right with school lights, and also at the end of this street we quite often have 2 cars parked on the left, so anyone exiting that end has to go out and around, which puts them on the other side of the street before they actually come to the stop sign. And occasionally my neighbour has this massive big truck which comes and does their gardening. If there's a car parked on the other side of the street, anyone trying to get through there has got a real problem. I just don't think that our street is capable of handling the volume of traffic that this will generate. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Safely, anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenda. Finally, I invite Peter Hutchinson up to read to his submission. Thank you.
Right, for a start, I've lived in the street all my life. So I know a little bit about it from its dirt days to now. Now, I hope some of you have looked at the photos that I've sent through, and Hannah's sent photos through also, to try and justify some of these arguments. The first one, there's 4 centres already applied for before this one starts, and one of them's already started work on. I've rang several existing centres, and their peak time traffic is bedlam, even on wider streets, and our street is nowhere near as wide as the others. We have a problem getting staff. Right. The street, by council, it measures 6.9 in the narrowest. My vehicle measures 2.5 between mirrors, and there's quite often trucks, cars, boats, caravans parked along it. If you add 2 of them opposite, that's 5 metres. That leaves 1.9 to get through, if you can. It's a big problem with the parking. Turning right off the highway into Wood Street caused a big bank up, and more so with the new lights out at Reardon's, traffic coming through prevents a lot of traffic. Then you get people turn right out of Wood Street, especially unknowns, don't know the street. They have a major problem and cause bank ups. We've nearly got to drive out the back way to get out of our street now. At the moment, I think the property is residential. Has it been rezoned, or have they applied for rezoning of it? So, and there's actually, all I've got to say is there is one, we had a meeting and Councillor McCrickard got the days wrong, we got the days wrong, and we stood out in the sun for half an hour and there was an elderly resident collapsed. We had to get an ambulance in, and I think you've got a photo of it. They'd said a fire truck would not get that through that street with the traffic there. It's a major issue to traffic. That's what I'm complaining about. We're going to have bedlam. There's not much you can do. You can't make it one way because it's shop and that. So that's all I've got to say. I hope you look at the photos, or even go down and have a look yourself and see how hard it is for us to get in and out of our street. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So we have our officer's recommendations. Councillors, do I have a mover? Councillor Hudgell, do I have a seconder? Councillor McCrickard. We have a motion before us. All in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dude, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard. That's 6-0. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I should have actually offered you that. Anyway, from the chair, I'll thank the speakers. Sorry, I should have allowed the councillors to thank the speakers, but we appreciate your time and effort coming today, so thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. We'll now move on to item 5.3, proposed Copac lease, conflict of interest, Councillor Hudgell. And there was a conflict also raised by Councillor Surin, but officers do not have to leave. Well, he wanted to be. He told me to read that out, but his officer Surin. But anyway, I tried to sneak that one through for you, Ian, but it didn't work. Officers don't have to leave the room because they're not decision makers. Proposed Copac lease, Councillor Hudgell's left. We have 3 people requested to speak to their submission. First, I invite James Judd. Thank you.
Did this council disclose to the tenderers for Copac that the complex has lax soundproofing between the council chambered ceiling and roof, and that it is bedlam in this area when we have a major weather event over Colac? If not, you could be charged for not disclosing known facts. This council has been aware of that fact for very many years.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Judd. Thank you. I'll now call on Georgina Wheeler. I'm guessing it's on behalf of the Colac players. Submission.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this today. Representing the Colac players, we are 83 years old this year, and we are the Shire's only volunteer not-for-profit theatre company. Without strong community input and involvement, Copac would not actually exist today. Life member of the Colac players, Beryl Doak, worked tirelessly for many years, championing the need for an arts centre for this Shire. She is recognised on the green room door for her efforts. Over the past 10 years, it seems that Copac has been deliberately allowed to dwindle. The Copac Trust, which was set up to ensure community input into the centre, has faded away and become redundant. There has been no professional experienced theatre manager at the centre for a very long time. An active, vibrant arts centre, as Copac was in early days, anchors cultural activity in the town, and it should be a hub for all types of community activities and functions. Over the years, it's hosted many fundraisers, exhibitions, events, school balls, and even Colac players shows. And we shouldn't forget the incredible step in time. On stage in 2001, which involved 150 community performers and told the story of our history. This would not have been feasible or possible if council were not running Copac. Copac could and should be a feather in council's cap, a symbol of progressive and culturally active Shire, and a facility that we can all be proud of. The Shire, acknowledging Makerspace, the Shire has just one main arts facility in the entire Shire, and it's been given away. It seems there is minimal support from this council for anything remotely cultural, and there is no care for the many residents who have an interest in the arts. Compare that to the approximately 50 sporting and leisure facilities we have, not to mention Blue Water Fitness Centre, which is obviously heavily subsidised for the benefit of the community, as it should be. Arts centres provide shared experiences that are hard to replicate elsewhere. They bring together diverse groups in age, culture and background. They support local artists and stories. Arts centres create a sense of pride and local pride and identity. We need to hold on to Copac and ensure it fulfils this mission. This is not of interest to a private global company focused on profits. The Colac players have serious reservations about the proposed lease to IVG Global. We feel privatisation of the management of performances in Copac is highly likely to increase prices, decrease services, and largely ignore community benefit. IVG Global show no experience in artistic programming leadership, producing theatre seasons, or long-term creative direction of theatre. That's not in their playbook. Their work is more operational commercial consultancy than artistic theatre management. Hire of this facility is already beyond reach of many community groups, and that's when it's being run by council. The Colac players can no longer afford most of the time to perform here, and this will worsen under privatisation. Instead, council should be proactively seeking ways to bring down higher costs for the community, encourage more community and business use, and get volunteers involved. If profits are low or non-existent over the first 2 years, which seems quite likely, would our ratepayers want council to pay out over $400,000 in subsidies to a private company? Because that's what's proposed.
1 minute, thank you.
If profits are low or non-existent, what does that mean for capital improvements at the centre? Investment in renewal works and equipment upgrades have already been really limited since 2001, 25 years. We risk being obsolete instead of state-of-the-art. We risk programming becoming very commercialised with less support for local theatre and community arts. It'll lead to prioritising profitable hires and reducing prime time availability for locals. Higher fees, more corporate private events, and will there even be a theatre season under IVG Global? Victoria's regional arts system is largely publicly owned, council-led networks rather than private, profit-driven entities. Most commonly, they are local government owned and run. Why? Because the model works. It balances financial considerations with community benefit. Fully outsourced venue management is rare, likely because it doesn't work.
That's nearly time, thanks.
All right, thank you. We feel that the community will be deprived of a lot of benefits, and there's a lot, and we would also say that we felt that the consultation period was too short, and I've spoken to a lot of local people and nobody knows about it. So I feel there's a lot more consultation that would need to occur if you were going to consider this. We argue to keep Copac management in-house and led by someone with experience and competence in fostering local arts, community and cultural benefits. Will Copac founder Beryl Dokes be taken a name, stay on the door, you know, might come off, be a corporate sponsor instead, which would be a terrible shame. Thank you for your time. I apologise I went over.
No, that's all right. Thank you. I'll now call Paul Lamont, speaking on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Mayor, CEO and councillors. Good afternoon. My name is Paul Lamont. I'm the Vice President of the Colac District Chambers and Commerce. Appreciate the chance to speak today on behalf of the Chamber. The concerns we have heard from our local businesses and community is the proposal of the Copac lease. As a peak advocate body representing the businesses across the Colac District, it is our responsibility to ensure the voice of our local enterprises and heard clearly and constructively. I would like to outline 4 key areas where our members are seeking clarification. First, local suppliers. Many businesses are asking what assurances can we be provided that local providers will continue to be supported under the new management. Will services such as catering, photographs, decorations, furniture hire continue to be sourced locally? Or is there a risk that these opportunities may be directed outside our region? For example, if I wanted to book a room at Marvel Stadium, which they have said in their website that they do the catering and everything like that, they would say to me, I can't bring my own catering mob in. If we do that here, that means the local people won't have a chance to bring the local businesses in. So the stadium owns catering teams and exclusive rights to provide all foods and beverages and services and functions. Small Colac District catering business would lose substantial portions of the potential earnings if IVG Global brings the Institute the same policies as Copac. Locally, businesses must be protected during the lease negotiation. Secondly, employment. What does the transition mean for people who currently work at Copac? Can assurances be given regarding the ongoing employment of the existing staff? And looking ahead, will IVG Global Management create new employment opportunities for local residents? Additionally, will the facilities continue to be managed locally, or will the key decision be made from outside the Colac district? The next phase for Copac presents a valuable opportunity to deliver meaningful benefits to the Colac community, including potential to strengthen the local employment outcomes. The Chamber considers that retaining a local-based management team would greatly support IVG Global and understanding and responding unique needs and expectation for our community. It would also help to ensure a smooth transition for Copac patrons while continuing to provide important employment opportunities within the creative arts sector. 3, the lease transparency. We acknowledge that there is some information have been available through council websites. However, our members are asking if and when further details of the proposed lease arrangements can be shared publicly. Greater transparency will help build confidence and allow community to better understand the long-term implications of the decision. Finally, pricing and accessibility. Businesses and community group alike are seeking clarity on future pricing structure under the new operator. When will this information be made available? Will the existing venue hire quotes be honoured after the transition, or will it see the prices skyrocket? Importantly, what measures will be in place to ensure Copac remains accessible, both in terms of affordability, venue booking for community groups, reasonable ticket prices for events open to the general public?
Just 1 minute. Thanks, Paul.
Copac is the Shire premier performing arts and event venue, limited compatible alternative within the district. It is therefore in the community the best interest that any increasing in prices carefully managed and kept to a minimal. This will help to ensure an ongoing viability of the community events of local groups and strong patrons events delivered through Copac. In closing, the Chamber appreciates the opportunity to raise these matters. We are committed to engaging constructively and working collaboratively to achieve an outcome to support both economic growth and community well-being. We respectfully ask the concerns of local business communities be given due consideration as council progress the discussion regarding proposed lease, and we remain ready to contribute in a positive and practical way to ensure the best possible outcome for the Colac district. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Thanks to everyone that submitted. There's an officer recommendation and report. Does anyone wish to move that as a motion? Councillor Howard. Is it to be seconded? Councillor Potter. Councillor Howard as the mover. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'd just like to thank, again, the submitters who've made the effort to come today. We do appreciate people talking to their submissions, gives us a bit more insight into it, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Potter. No? Any other councillor wish to speak? Oh. A motion before us, councillors. Will now put it to vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dew, Councillor McCricker, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried. 6-0. Councillor Hudgell gone for good. In that case, thank you to everyone that contributed today. Now, that concludes the submissions committee meeting of the Colac Otway Shire. I declare this meeting closed at 2:25 p.m. Thank you.